Grenfell, poster child for just everything. Sorry, can you hear me okay, or do I need to use it? Oh, thank you. So hopefully I'm not too loud. So Grenfell was obviously the poster child for everything that could have gone wrong in many ways, from the start of the fire to the lack of information that was given to the people fighting it, etc., etc. Clearly, we had something on Saturday in Bristol, started by an e-bike charger. There are 30 a day. I imagine the only reason we didn't have another multi-fatality fire on Saturday was because it happened on the top floor, not on the 4th floor, which is where Grenfell started. And that's a big factor. That's how varied, that's how easy that could have been another Grenfell. The main thing that we're interested in is the things that cause fires between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. because that's when you're most likely to die from a fire. So what is that human activity? Because all fires in residential buildings, one way or another, are a result of human activity. The human activity is obviously electricity. The main thing is electrical overheating. And there's been a lot of well-funded studies on it. Electrical overheating is caused by high resistance and loose connections. Okay, fine. Resistive heating or ohmic heating is not detected by arc fault devices. They're not designed to detect it. And of course, arc fault devices don't go below 2.5 amps anyway. And you can certainly raise the temperature of a socket or plug to 480 degrees in 10 minutes with half an amp. So it can be done. The most dangerous appliances from our point of view are the cooling and laundry devices, which are higher ampage. So fridge freezers, dishwashers, electrical vehicle chargers. Give you a statistic, in 2019, we drew 60 gigawatt hours of electricity into our homes, all homes in the UK, 60 gigawatt hours. It was 2.3 gigawatt hours in 1970. That's a 25-fold increase. We're going to have 40 gigawatt hours by the end of the decade, because of electric vehicles. 40 times the electrical draw, for which we are not prepared. The thing about electrical overheating is it takes time. It rarely happens catastrophically, and it can be detected from a pre-ignition perspective, and it can turn off. If you turn off the current, you obviously turn off the electrical heating risks. It's the current that provides the heat. So how do we do that? Very simple concept. We're here, prevention. We are a prevention system. We are not a protection system. Of course, we can integrate with traditional fire detection systems, but over here, you have two main ignition points that we're concerned with. The auto ignition point of a cellulosic material, and particularly the auto ignition point of hydrocarbon or thermoplastic, which is what your sockets are made of. Over here, when you start to heat these components, you release hydrogen chloride, you release carbon dioxide, you release carbon monoxide. These are all released at temperatures where there is no danger of a fire happening in most scenarios. What we do is we put those sensors within the electrical supply chain. They sense the risk, pre-ignition, they turn it off. How do we do that? It's not rocket science, socket science, right? That has got 5 computers in it. The people who built it built the train tracking system that's working right now in Network Rail that keeps people from crossing level crossings when they're not supposed to, like when there's a train around the corner. It's a it's incredibly safe device. It's got carbon monoxide detectors, carbon dioxide detectors, thermal, all sorts of things. It detects current, which means it can detect if current fluctuates up or down. So for example, if there's a resistance on a circuit caused by corrosion or oxidation, we will pick that up in multiple ways. We'll pick it up from the electrical change and just purely in terms of current or voltage. But obviously, if it starts to heat, we pick up heat. We pick up hydrogen chloride. Why hydrogen chloride? Almost all electrical insulation has PVC. PVC, when heated, gives off hydrogen chloride. And it's pretty much the only way you'll find hydrogen chloride in a normal environment. Carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide follow very soon thereafter. From a high-rise point of view, first, and these solutions are patented, so that is a UK patent granted. We're rolling it out to 50 countries. Something here that's also important is all of this, as well as having the ability to do all of this locally. So there's a lot of machine learning built into that socket. It can do what it needs to do locally, but it's also part of a connected system, hence the name of the company, which has a cloud platform behind it, one of the things that we do, of course, is as well as having all the safety stuff, we also have nice stuff that your consumers or the people who live in your buildings might like the ability to turn off all their devices at night and then have them just turn on again automatically in the morning. I'm going halfway down the M4, have we turned off the hair straighteners? Oh, I don't know. I can go onto an app, I can turn off the hair straighteners. That's all for free. We're not interested in that from a business perspective. We're interested in saving lives and stopping buildings from being burned down. But it's a good way of engaging residents because residents like cool stuff and building owners like buildings that are safe. So what's behind it? There is a very powerful network behind it. It is a secure network, it's private, it's encrypted, people are not going to be able to hack the building. It's self-healing, which means if it loses a device, it's a full mesh network. If it loses a device, it will simply re-elect other leaders and keep communicating. There are no single points of failure. It can integrate with Alexa and Google Assistant and Siri. Ultimately, it goes back to a cloud. The model is very simple. The model is very simple. We connect the world up, a socket at a time, and we point it back to a cloud. That's it. But every single device can always do it makes its decision, performs its prime function on its own. So it can always act independently. So if it ever loses connectivity, it will still function, which is key. We then turn that into a solution that basically allows the fire brigade to turn up to a building, have a digital footprint, be able to see where all the fire devices are, ours and others that we integrate into, and be able to turn off utilities, evacuate based on whatever their policy is. That's a live system. We demonstrated it to Grosvenor and other industry experts here about 4 months ago, got very good feedback. This has been built, okay? So it does work, and we would love to be able to show it to any of you at any point in time down at CIHQ. Our founder, Anthony's got 30 years working for the Home Office. He's done stuff I can't talk about, but he was the first person to put ANPR in. So if anyone ever got taxed for ANPR, it's his fault. But he also builds and has built the train tracking system using Network Rail. That level of technology has gone into this pure socket. It's £1 a week per socket for 5 years, approximately 10% of the cost of putting in cladding. And that is it, I think, Marcus, before you gave me the hook. Thank you.
Slightly over. No.
So, guys, any questions? I'm sorry I've had to rush through there, but there you go. I'd love to have some. Please.
Cost implication between your socket and the average socket.
So there is no easy comparison there. A normal socket you can buy for £3. Ours, we don't actually have a retail price because it's not delivered in that model. It's a subscription. Basically, we deliver a solution and we charge a subscription over 5 years because behind the socket is the cloud and all the monitoring, but it works out at roughly £1 a socket, for which you get something that can do amazing stuff for consumers, right? They can have all the kind of lifestyle things of the world's best smart sockets. But at the same time, behind the scenes, it's also saving their life. That's key. So what we've discovered in our kind of testing is the consumer and the resident loves the functionality. They don't really think an electric fire is going to happen to them. So they love the functionality. But of course, electric fires happen every day, 30 of them a day. So that's kind of trying to engage them and at the same time address our core function.
You mentioned during your presentation that the fire service, if they were to turn up, be able to identify.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a control panel, or how would the fire service?
So there is a cloud app which has a cloud. It's sitting on a very secure cloud to which the fire service would have access through just a normal laptop or an iPad or a mobile phone, and which would enable them to see what their portal access gives them, which in this case would be a digital floor plan of the building, where the people are if we want to, because we can do that, where the fire is, where the sockets are, and then a gold commander or the bridgehead commander can make a decision, I'm evacuating this floor and everyone else stays put. We can also link it to Alexa. So for example, Alexa could then go through all of the rooms and establish medical priorities like, hello, don't worry, there's a fire in wherever, stay put, it's under control, do you have anybody who has A, asthma, B, mobility issues, whatever? All of that's in there. It can do all of that. The point being that when you look at the Grenfell report, they turned up with almost no information and were expected to save lives and, by the way, risk their own without really, frankly, giving them anything. I don't feel we give the fire services anything like what they should have. And we're trying to give them state of the art so they can turn up. They're not just rocking up to find out. They actually can see where everything is and they can make strategic plans. So I hope I answered your question.
You certainly did, thank you. As far as turning up without any information, as Chantal said, I've got 32 years with London Fire Brigade. The guy that showed up at Grenfell, the first incident commander, used to work for me.
Right, okay, okay.
I know what information he had.
Okay, right.
None, he showed up to a confirmed fire on the floor.
Yeah, on the 4th floor, flat 16. Yeah.
As far as he was concerned, it was out.
Yes.
By the time we got down to the ground floor, his driver said, "Go, it's alive on the outside."
And then it started breaking in through other places and you had a connected internal fire. Oh, yeah, sure. But still, ultimately, just to make the point, Marcus, we are a prevention system. It's stopping it from happening. What we would have liked with Grenfell is the guy who lived in flat 16 on the 4th floor woke up and said, "Oh, your fridge is being turned off because it nearly caught fire." That would have been what we would have liked.
There's also a company that I think I should introduce you to that does exactly the same thing for gas.
Yeah, would love to. Yes.
They're a Swedish company.
Okay.
They can install a cut-off valve for
yes.
gas installation,
yep.
gas cookers, and even if you have a drunk, it takes samples of the surrounding air.
Right.
If it identifies
too much alcohol. Right. Wow. Okay, so we're not quite like that, but hey, we would love to talk to them. Thank you. Thank you. I will do. I will do.
Any other questions, guys?
Please.
Just from an installation's perspective on older buildings, within the subscription you pay, does that include you coming to install?
Yeah, that's delivered over 5 years, the whole thing.
5 years.
Yeah.
And is it as simple as rewiring a socket?
To an extent, yes. It's a normal BS 1363 socket. So essentially, but with a load of stuff in it. So you put it in, there's your socket. Then, yes, there's a connection process to link it to the cloud and to the mesh network, which is so requires something. So there's a radio survey we need to do for a building, which typically can be 30, 40,000 pounds for a high rise, 14 stories. Other than that, the price I quoted would be delivered. That's it. That's all you pay, and it's OPEX primarily. So it's offsettable against tax, etc., etc. There's good cash flow and tax advantages.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Swiftly moving on, we have Say Property, I believe, is next up. The reason the mic has suddenly appeared is we can't record it without, so
that's
I'll
fine.
hand you that.
Will you give us our minute to go countdown as well?
Yes, of course. I'll be at the back making strange hand signals.
Perfect. Is it just this? Perfect. We are ready? Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Kemi. I'm an associate from Say, and this is Charles. He's a partner from Say. And Say, for those of you who don't know, is a property management consultancy firm. And we're kind of here by accident, if we're honest, through our consultancy work with public and private sector developers, landlords and investors. But through our consultancy work, we've discovered that actually there is a need for a tech solution to respond to the Building Safety Act requirements. So here today we are searching primarily for funding. We need 1.5 million to build Securo, which is our tech platform. But secondly, and most importantly, we're really keen to collaborate and partner with ideally a residential owner or manager, or a tech investor, so that we can build and launch Securo and make sure it's the best platform for the wider market. In summary, this simplified diagram shows you what Securo is. It is a Building Safety Act compliance tool. And it's there primarily to help the landlord of residential buildings to make sure that they can comply with the requirements of the Act. Also, it can be used by managing agents as well. It's easily adoptable by them too. So in our line of thinking, in our line of work, what we have got is when the principal accountable person or the accountable person change, with Securo, the critical safety information about the building won't get lost. And that should help protect the landlord and the managing agents going forward. So Securo is a solution for landlords. As you can see, the reason why it's important is because, well, this is a mock-up of our dashboard, but as you can see, we're hoping that it will give the landlords, the principal accountable person, full visibility into how their portfolio is being managed. There'll be the ability to be able to drill down into the functionality, into the details as well. And we think this is quite important from a sales perspective for mortgage providers, insurers, et cetera. And finally, we also think the cost, which Charles will talk to you about, is affordable for residents as well from a service charge and rental perspective. And it's no cost to the landlords or the managing agents.
So in terms of where we are with this at the moment, there is a huge market, a huge potential market of almost 4.9 million apartments in the UK. There are, and actually nobody knows the exact numbers, but government believe there are 600,000 apartments in buildings over 18 metres, and they are already, they fall within scope of the Act. And in buildings under 18 metres, there are a further 4.2 million apartments. And what's really interesting is that we believe, rather like the WS1, they will be caught up in maybe not the legal scope immediately, but we think that purchasers, lenders and insurers will be looking for the comfort issued by the Act. And the safety case that has to be delivered to the regulator. In terms of how we've cost modeled this, and I appreciate that different people are looking at it differently, our model assumes a £20 plus VAT charge per apartment per annum. So effectively it's £2 a month. And looking at the potential size of the market is almost £100 million a year worth of revenue. In terms of our modelling, and we have modelled this on all sorts of different bases, we believe, so this is what we think we can deliver as Securo, 20% of the existing markets. This is in year one. We think that the existing sub 18 metre market is going to be a much slower take up. So we're assuming we pick up 2% in year one, growing to 20% in year 5. And then in terms of new build, so our thrust here is not the new build market, because there are an awful lot of people working on quite sophisticated BIM modeling to pick up all the golden thread information. Our real focus is existing buildings. And looking at our revenue projections, we reckon year one should be 4.2 million, and that grows extraordinarily to sort of 20 million in year 5. The interesting thing as well, and this is not a world that we're hugely familiar with to this point, but from a software as a service sort of valuation multiplier, businesses tend to change hands for somewhere between 7 to 30 times annual recurring revenue. So you can see there's some real value in this business. In terms of where we are, we've been working with a business called Single Mind. They're based in Oregon and they are software engineers. We have wireframed, we've been working with them for the last sort of 9 months in terms of designing what they're going to build, and we're pretty much ready to go. Our sort of embryonic team, we have an executive chairman who will actually be, he's a venture capital guy. We're about to sort of agree terms with him. And he's invested in lots of tech, and he will be building the business. We've got Single Mind ready to go. We're going to recruit a CEO, and then us, Kemi and I, are sort of product, really focusing on the product. In terms of, I'm not sure this slide worked terribly well, but in terms of our challenges, we really need to do this quickly. We recognize that there's competition out there. I think the big thing that we've seen from the competition to date is they're not looking at this product as a landlord sort of transferable proposition. They're looking at, a lot of the businesses are looking at this as sort of a bolt-on to existing health and safety platforms. What we can do is, it is a ring-fence Building Safety Act compliant product that allows sort of portability. So if you're buying or you're selling a building or a portfolio, you can take it, you can literally pick it up and give it to your next owner. And then in relation to opportunities, it is really an exciting moment in time. You know, rarely do you get a statutory requirement to find a solution. So it's exciting, it's interesting, and we've got time pressure.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kemi. Thank you, Charles. Any questions?
Well, what it does is it gives you the framework. So we are just setting out the 6 areas of compliance. So there's going to be a there's data storage, which is kind of this single source of truth. And at the moment, you know, you've got bits of data sitting with managing agents, bits with consultants, bits with health and safety. It brings it all together. You've then got this, you know, the resident's voice piece, which is part of the Act, and it, you know, there's lots of requirements there in terms of how you communicate with residents, allowing a forum, complaints. For complaints, you've got elements of a safety management system. And what this is then doing is all that information is feeding through and giving you the ability to write your safety case, but all the information is stored in one place. So once the safety case is written, that's a pretty dynamic document, sits within the within the platform. And then we provide a portal to communicate with the building safety regulator. We've done lots of work on cladding remediation. So it'll be sort of an upload from the platform. So what it really does is it simplifies a straight line to compliance. And what we're doing is we're providing the platform and the architecture. It's then down to building owners and building managers to populate that.
Any other questions, guys? No? I have a question for you. Does your platform also have fire risk assessment, general risk assessment templates built into it?
Well, not templates. It's storage. So effectively, we would expect, I don't know, ARC or Tetra or somebody else to be providing that information, or that, and then it would be uploaded through an API or through a PDF, and it would sit there, and it would sit there forever. So, you know, the property manager would go away and action and record on our platform, you know, conclusion of the actions, but the risk assessments would be there forever, just so you can demonstrate to the building safety regulator that it's happened and how you've responded to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, guys? No? Thank you very much. Well done. Let's go back to the programme. So next up is injector clad. Right.
Hi. Okay. Thanks everyone for organising today. Thanks for inviting us. We're here to talk to you today about a product that we've created, which is called Injectaclad. Lovely mug shots there. I'm Chris, and that's Craig. Craig is here for the technical questions, if anyone has any, because I don't know the answers to most of them. Where has it come from? I suppose there's well-documented cladding issues, all kind of revert back to the Grenfell tragedy. Following that, there's obviously been a lot of reform, and EWS1 certificates have kind of been born from that tragedy, and defective cavity barriers or non-existing cavity barriers have been found at the same time as looking at the cladding. That presents obviously a danger to residents, which is fairly obvious, and there's a financial impact to the builders. There's a financial impact to residents as well. So we decided to take a look at the defective or the missing cavity barrier. Obviously, defective means that the barrier, the existing barrier, is in situ, but it's not fully in compression. It doesn't span the entire width of the cavity. And missing is obviously that there's no cavity barrier at all in the void. So at present, there are two main options. One is a full-scale removal of facades. We install, or anybody would install a cavity barrier and then rebuild the property, which obviously presents major challenges. And two is Injectaclad. That's as far as we believe. I know that there are potentially there is another option there, but it's generally poo-pooed a lot by fire engineers, and so we haven't included it on this slide. So I've talked a lot about Injectaclad, but I haven't actually told you exactly what it is. So it is a retrospective cavity barrier. It's a high expanding intumescent graphite. So on this diagram here, it would be the black element that sits between the brick facade and the insulation. The product in its raw form is a liquid, which allows the injection method. So it allows the product to be kind of pumped into the cavity. And it's designed crucially for use externally, so it can be installed external. So it's not going to have detrimental effects to the residences, to the residents. And important for us, and a bit of a tip of our cap, is that it's an award-winning. So the regulatory body for passive fire protection is called the ASFP, and this is it won Innovation of the Year with them, along with a few other construction excellence awards as well. So how does it work? So if we take a brick facade, we will remove 2 bricks every 2 meters instead of a full-scale brick removal. We install stainless steel pins, which I'm not sure if you can see, but they're there just to hold the mesh in place. And then we put the mesh onto the pins and we pump the mesh, kind of like filling a sausage, essentially. And then that product will sit exactly at the compartment line for the duration, for the life of the building. So where can it be used? It's primarily what they call a solid state barrier. So it's for use in kind of wet finish facades, so brick or rendered block. It can be used at any heights. So we've done projects from like 5 meters high up to 45 meters high so far. At the moment, our patent covers us for use in the UK, but we do have a worldwide clause on it as well. So we are looking for opportunities worldwide at the moment. So why would someone choose Injectaclad rather than the full-scale removal of the property? So it's highly unique. It's the only thing like it in our little tiny bit of the fire industry. It's vastly more efficient because it causes a lot less disruption to residents. You don't have to decant residents and move them into different buildings. The residents can stay where they are. And because of that, the speed makes it a lot more cost efficient. Crucially, the landlords can maintain the building warranty. by using our product. I believe the building warranty is revoked or needs to be renewed if the facade is removed. And some of the projects that we've worked on, most of the projects that we've worked on as a result of our works, and not solely our works, I'm sure, but the crucial EWS1 form was achieved. So testing, I'm not going to go too much in detail on this, but suffice to say, we test our product a lot and we test it with very specific parameters. We don't just say we have a barrier that will last for 2 hours. We test it alongside various different types of insulation and different thicknesses and widths and all sorts. So customers, some of the customers here that we work with are well, national, multinational main contractors, and some of the specifiers that we work with. Most fire engineers in the UK, we're working with them on one project or have worked with them on several projects. So our contractors, we have contractors that work with us and install the product. This is just a little graph to show how many there are at the moment that work in each locality of the UK. We're always looking for more, so I don't know if there's any contractors here or if this goes out to anyone else. There is a vetting procedure, but we're quite selective with the contractors that we work with, because by the time it comes to us, we need to make sure that the product is installed exactly as it should be and it does what it should do. Yeah, I mentioned the awards, but it's always nice to put it in there twice. So in summary, we have a highly unique product. It's a completely new method of installation. We've completed over probably 60 now completed test scenarios, all at recognised test houses to the British standard, and we believe it solves what is fastly becoming, along with cladding, a major kind of national issue. So, thank you.
Any questions? Yes, mate. Yep. Thanks. So the biggest cavity we can cover is 200 mil. That's what we tested so far. But it all depends on the build-up as well. So that's 200 mil clear cavity with clear product. So if you had 80 mil insulation and 100 mil cavity and 100, then we can do a lot more. But 200 mil is the most we've tested of our product in one go, which is great for brick buildings. But when you get into your range screen clad, these cavities do get a bit bigger, don't they? Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's really tricky. I mean, we go into buildings that are maybe 10, 8 years old, and someone's lunch might be in there from build, and you need to get around that. So if you go back to the slides, Chris, on the red brick, we take out 2 bricks every 2 meters for the installation. There we go. However, if there's an instruction, all we need to do is pop a brick out and get the thing out of the way. I mean, if there's fire barriers in the way that are not in compression or in non-compliance, we can literally just pull those things out. Honestly, it's not hard to do. If you've got brick snots and horrible things like that, the product itself is a liquid. So provided we've got the overall depth that we need, the product will flow and fill around it. So it is very, very versatile. Ultimately, if there's something in your way and you can't get past it, we need to make more holes, and what can you do? It's a simple answer, unfortunately. Yeah. Anything else? Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, so the product has got European Class X weathering. So this is an innovation of another material that you could normally buy in a cartridge form. I think there's a company over there that sells it in a different form. And what we've done is taken that raw data. So Class X means you go to a car park, handle weathering and all that sort of stuff. We've done a lot of R&D. We've left outside in the rain, and it doesn't really budge. Provided it cures, which we want a couple of days curing, then it can handle a bit of weather. So a bit of condensation is not an issue for us at all. Ideally, just like you can see here, although it's not very clear, you want it underneath the DPC, because that's where it should be, really. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a ventilated barrier. So a ventilated barrier would do that. This is a solid state or a full fill. So yeah, we would fill the entire space 100%. Although we do have a patent for ventilated, which I haven't done yet. So again, there. Red plug and Instafiber, similar sort of thing. So that was what we alluded to at the start, the other solution that we don't really talk about. So from what I gather of those systems, that is removing the cavity altogether, isn't it? It's filling the cavity. So for us, that's more manipulation of regulation than treating the barrier at source. What we're trying to do is replace the barrier exactly where it was and maintain that fire line. Many years ago, before Injectaclad, that's the sort of thing that I'd be promoting as an installer, because it's a manipulation to the regs, and you can say, well, if there's no cavity, there's no barrier that's needed. However, the QA on that is really, really difficult. The QA on this is extremely simple and robust, and that's what's led us down this path, to be honest.
Any other questions, guys?
Go on, Marcus, you got one.
No?
Oh,
You are out of time.
Sorry.
I have to say, I'm not here to endorse any of the products or presenters, but I've actually seen this being demonstrated. I went down to Cardiff, and these guys actually demonstrate the product. It is very, very quick. So I think you did a 2-meter stretch, and it took all of about, if that.
Yeah.
So it's very quick, it's very clean, and we're certainly going to talk. But anyway, cheers, guys. Thank you. We are about 1 minute over time. I know, it's incredible, isn't it? So we're going to have a short break. There's tea and coffee back there. I should have said before we started, for those that need the toilet, the gents is over there and the ladies over there. But we've got about 10 minutes for a cup of tea, cup of coffee. Grab yourself, I think there's some cookies and what have you, all out the back there. So if we could do 10 minutes and be back in your seats for just after 1:30, please. Thank you.
They kept on swapping it out. Should both.
Yeah, they are.
Both big green.
Oh, next.
So you just